8 minutes past 10. Sarah Walker with you until 1 o'clock this afternoon. I'm joined in the studio by the writer and the journalist, Morag Cuddeford-Jones. Morning to you.
Morning, Sarah.
I love the fact that you brought in little baby Josh with you today. This is just brilliant for me because I'm particularly broody, and the fact that you brought him in, I'm just loving it.
I've turned the whole production office into a nanny station, haven't I?
That's not a bad thing, to be honest. They need kind of shaping up for potential fatherhood in the future, so that's not a bad thing at all. One thing I want to get straight onto is the stuff about the McCanns in the newspapers today. This is the Daily Express and the Daily Star printing front-page apologies to Madeleine McCann's parents for articles suggesting that they were somehow responsible for their daughter's death. They've also agreed to pay a substantial sum to the couple's official Madeleine Fund. As a parent, can any amount of money or any kind of public apology make up for something like that, do you think?
It can't. It absolutely can't. But I would imagine also that in their situation, it's very hard to tell from looking in, but to have lost a child and, you know, to lose a child fatally, there's a grieving process. They don't even know if this is the case. And I would imagine that, yes, this is dreadful, and what the Daily Express has been doing, it's an indictment of the journalistic profession of which I am part, is that, you know, they get carried away with themselves and just feel they have carte blanche to write all sorts of things. But the fact is, they are missing one daughter, and that, I should imagine, is foremost in their minds. This, what the Daily Express said and wrote is indeed very, very hurtful, but as a parent, my waking thought every morning would be, where's my daughter? Not what have they written about me today? And yes, while it certainly can't have helped.
I mean, do you think some of this is the Clarence Mitchell effect as well? Because they've brought him in, haven't they, as their PR
an
advisor.
ex-BBC man, I believe. Yeah,
absolutely. And, I mean, to be fair, they have been continuously in the news. I mean, to take away, you know, these sorts of headlines that we're talking about in the Express and in the Star, but they are continually having that kind of public presence, aren't they?
They are. I'm not convinced that that was generally a good thing to do, because it appeared too slick. I mean, they've already been criticised, and however fairly, for, you know, knowing how to manipulate the media, being sort of thoroughly middle class, everything that the middle class seem to get vilified for, knowing how to work the system. And they've been vilified for it because it seems they're too present. They're using all the resources that come to hand, and they're employing a professional. It's the sort of Max Clifford effect. You know, once you employ a PR, what is it you've got to show or indeed to hide?
Well, it almost becomes a bit kind of business-like, doesn't it, in a way? And you're no longer dealing with a missing child. It's almost like publicising a new venture that you've got going
Exactly.
on.
You know, it's not the parent that you see sitting at the police desk begging for a daughter to come home, although, you know, this has been going on for so long that the campaign has to move on somehow. But how much a sort of international media campaign this far on can help, you know, as they said, they've plumbed the money into private detectives, etc. The person, if it's a case that Madeleine McCann has been kidnapped, abducted, given to another couple somewhere else, etc., the media had questioned how much use continually using PR, particularly in the UK. I mean, this seems to be highly UK focused. Clarence Mitchell's forever on the breakfast programmes, etc., with an update. I'm not convinced that that's a great use of their time and resources now, but it's certainly the case that they seem to have used the press so well that it hasn't necessarily worked to their advantage in the public's opinion of them. So unlike perhaps somebody we met later, using the press hasn't sort of earned them the vilification that it can arise. It's work the press at your peril.
Seeing as we are talking about the press and using the press for your own ends, or for whatever they may be, let's talk about Heather Mills.
Oh, bless her.
I mean, she is all over the front pages of the papers again today.
I know.
You kind of ask the question where she can go from here, really, because it's now turned into what I guess, particularly the tabloids, were praying for, which is this kind of hero-villain contest. And with the judges' comments, that's kind of backed that up again, hasn't it? And
it has,
They've been able to play this out again and again with a bit more backbone to it.
It does, yeah.
And, you know, she's certainly pictured all over the papers today with the judges' comments kind of in black and white surrounding her. I mean, where does she go next? Because we can talk forever about how it would have been a good idea to get some sort of PR advice in the form of Clarence Mitchell,
or not keep sacking them when she does have them.
You know, a lawyer who would actually say to her, "Look, do you know what? Don't go outside of the court and make a statement like this. Just slip out the back and keep quiet." We could talk forever about that kind of thing. But where does she go now? That's the thing.
It's interesting because a lot of the papers have been asking this, and I think it was it may have been the Mail that sort of extrapolated into a few years in the future. You know, 2000. 2008 she appears on this reality program, and then 2000, I think they had 2012 she marries Paul Burrell. Which I found very interesting, because this is a kind of similar situation. Paul Burrell started off as the wronged party, you know, he was wrongly accused about Diana's things, etc. Then started to look a bit shoddy, then tried to repair his image by going on I'm a Celebrity. Did to a certain extent. Everyone thought, you know, oh, he's actually a bit of an okay chap, you know, he takes it on the chin, etc. And now, since the Diana inquest, he's back down, you know, he seems to be going in waves, he's back down again. So I would be very... A lot of people will be saying, well, Heather Mills-McCartney should probably... Or is it Heather Mills now?
Probably Heather Mills.
She's not actually divorced yet.
No,
They're
that's
still
true.
married.
That is true.
You know, a lot of them are saying, well, you know, go quiet for a bit and then do one of these reality things. They seem to just revive everybody. I think public appetite for that sort of villain becomes hero through baptism of reality fire is wearing very thin.
Do you think that this constant demand from Heather Mills for more money, and you know the amount that she's been given isn't enough, it is just simply, rather than saying, okay, you know, looking at the actual maths of it and saying, you know, that physically isn't enough, it's just about the fact that he's sitting on £400 million or however much, you know, he's worth, and she has a fraction of that. Do you think that's all it's about? Do you think it's just become that kind of fight now?
Yeah, I think she's seen that he's worth 400 million and sort of done a bit of mental arithmetic and thought, I'm worth X percent of that. And there is no rhyme or reason why. I mean, he is worth silly money, absolutely silly money, no, money that no man could spend in several lifetimes. And how much does a person need? I mean, can she spend £26 million? She claimed to be 1.5 million in debt. The review of the assets found that she was 1 million in credit, not counting all her assets. But why somebody needs £26 million? And they broke it down, and it came to, you know, she was saying she needed extra security because of paparazzi hounding her, etc., etc. And when the media say, oh, but she courts it, well, I treat that with scepticism because it's what the media feed off. But the judge also said, you court this. This is something you could avoid if you really wanted to, and you don't have to live like a hermit to do it. So the costs she broke down, they weren't costs based on her need for living. They were costs based on what Paul had and how much she thought would be a reasonable slice of it.
Yeah.
So, you know, you work it out, you retro-work it from how much is available rather than what you actually need. And that left a bit of a funny taste in the mouth, I think.
It was interesting, actually. I was watching the One Show last night, and there was an actor on there from Cold Feet, and Adrian Charles said, you know, do you think that she should get half of everything that Paul McCartney has? And he turned around and said, well, yeah, I think she should get half, as long as she can prove that she, you know, contributed to all of those Beatles songs that he's written over the year, which I thought was quite a funny thing to say, actually. It kind of hit the nail on the head, didn't it, really? Going to be talking about those job losses at Vodafone in the next 10 minutes or so, and also bizarre story about a couple in Newcastle who've made coats out of dog hair. Very bizarre. That's after the Blue Tones.
Talking